Welcome to yet another wonderful edition of this special Women's Day broadcast. And on today's episode, I am joined by a young entrepreneur, a young woman that is changing the narrative when it comes to confectionaries and, of course, pastries here and there. But she is largely known for her mouth-watering confectionaries, and she is CEO and founder of Sabango Cakes and All. And this is none other than Sabango Mtonga, a young lady changing the narrative. As I said earlier, I don't know why I feel like I need to repeat myself, so I emphasize
young lady.
Young lady, please, young lady, take note, young lady. Help me welcome Sabango to the program. Welcome, Sabango.
Thank you, my darling, for having me. Thank you, Lonely. I'm happy to be here with you.
Of course. I mean, I watched you in high school. By the way, she lives in Luansha, but grew up in Ndola. And so she's somebody who has, grown up in the eyes of many on the Copper Belt. And so I would watch you from high school, and there was something that would just seem very calm, reserved, yet scheming, like someone is up to something. You get what I mean? And when you came up on the scene with Sabango Cakes and All, I won't lie to you. I'm one of those that were like, I always knew she was scheming.
She was up to something.
This baby here, Sabango Cakes and All, how did it begin?
I think for the most, my mother used to bake for us in the house. And she used to make such deliciousness in the house. Like you could smell the goodies from the get when you're coming back from school. Unfortunately, they had to separate, like my dad and my mom, they had to separate. So there was always that thing missing in the house. And we always wondered what it was. Until one day I said, you know what? We need cake in this house. Like, it's not home until there's something freshly baked. So one day I told Dad, I want to try bake. And me being the only girl and the firstborn, of course I got what I wanted. So yeah, my dad got me everything that I wanted, even more, even things that I didn't need. Because how's this baby girl? Got me my stuff, and we started trying here and there. I think I was about 9, between 9, 10 there. I tend to forget sometimes. Yeah, so that's how we started baking. And I think I picked it up from there.
So it was more like a hobby that is starting because there's this void missing.
Exactly. So for me, it was just a hobby. And then you know how it was those days. There wasn't a lot of people baking.
No.
Those are things that we used to see in ShopRite and whatnot. And in the neighborhood, when they got to learn that, kind of baking, they would always just want to come around and say, okay, let us buy you this and this and this, and then you can bake us this.
Yeah.
So that is how it started. Neighbors would come, bring you the ingredients, and for me it was fun.
It was all fun and games.
Exactly.
Did you ever think you would be this entrepreneur who is running one of the biggest, I'm calling it one of the biggest because there's no wedding in Zambia across the country that has happened in any town without having a taste of Sabango? Yeah, you may argue and say, yeah, other cases, but yeah, so many weddings around the country have Sabango cakes and or maybe I'm lying. Please confirm.
No, honey, you're not lying. I mean,
She is booked as far as Lusaka, Solwezi, Mongo, name it. And so at that time, did you see yourself becoming this powerhouse?
No. Growing up, I always wanted to be this accountant because my dad was an accountant, and growing up, he was, accountants make money. He could afford what we wanted. So in my head, accountants were rich.
Oh,
and what I wanted to be when I grew up was rich. So
it did not matter the
no,
profession.
it did not matter the profession. What I wanted to be was rich. My dad afforded a lot of things for us. So in my head, he was a rich man because he gave us the finest things in life. He gave us whatever we wanted as long as we could earn it. So in my head, he was a rich man and he was an accountant. So what better career than being an accountant? So growing up, I just said, I'm going to be an accountant. I'm going to be an accountant. And when I completed school, immediately, I went to study finance and accounting because that's what I wanted. And I knew it from the longest of time when I was so little. I said I wanted to be an accountant, and I did just that. I studied finance and accounting. I got done with it, and then started work. I worked with Pick and Pay for a year or two, 2 years. Yes. I worked in the cash office for 3 months. That was my area of expertise. Though I worked there for 3 months and I was promoted to management, so I had to leave the cash office. Mm-hmm.
So now getting to a place where you move from being an accountant, an official finance, what you said you studied finance and accounts, right?
Yes.
Yes. From being an accountant to now being a CEO, taking baking now as a full-time job. How did that happen?
Um, Working in retail is very demanding. I think people that have worked in retail can bear with me. It's very demanding. I had just started my home. I think I got married at that point. Yeah, so I just started my home, and then I had my son to take care of, and the man that I got married to also had a son. So we had like this little family.
Yeah.
Yes. So I would leave home as early as 5 or 4 because then I moved to Luansha and I was working from Ndola. So if you're the manager on duty, you need to open the store as early as 5, not to the public, but for the people that are working so that they could come in and do their stuff before the public can come and get the services that we're offering. Yeah, so for me, it became too much. I needed to give my husband the attention that he wanted. My children needed my attention. I would leave so early and come back so late. I wasn't having that time. And then I was also trying to build my business then, the Sabango's Cakes brand. I was trying to build it. I was barely having time for any of that. I couldn't take in any orders whatsoever because all the time that I had was in the store. So it got to a point where I had to make a decision. Do I want to continue with this or
Do I quit?
do I quit? And well, I had a very nice husband. God rest his soul. I had a very nice husband, very dedicated to being a husband. So I was not lacking anything. So I told myself, why am I stressing myself when this person can take care of me as I try to build my business? So I decided, okay,
Let's quit the job.
yes,
Let's get into business. That's something very scary for people to do because
it
knowing
was.
that you have a salary coming every month end is a bit comforting. For business, you don't know when it's going to be peak period and
Yeah.
when it's going to be slow. Sometimes it is slower than it is at peak. So it's a bit of a tricky position. And how did you navigate that? Quitting your job and now beginning this business.
So for me, it was harder than most because my backup was the husband. Yeah. So even at the time when I was quitting my job, I didn't exactly worry about what could come, like come rain, come what, because I had this husband who was doing well. And it's not something that I was worried about. Unfortunately, he passed.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. That was like just a few months after I'd quit my job. I think maybe 3 months because we're together for like 7 months when we got married. So he passed 7 months into the marriage, 7 or 9 months. Okay, I've forgotten. It's been 10 years.
Wow.
Yes.
God rest
So,
his soul.
yeah, God rest his soul, honey. So for me, that was, now that was challenging.
Yeah, because like you quit your job to
Yes,
wow.
that was challenging. Honey, I've seen challenges that. Like, you do not know what you're supposed to do at this point because I was just practically starting to grow this little business of mine. I hadn't even grown my clientele because of the job that I had. I didn't have the time to do this and that, to learn about this and learn about that. And at that time, the internet wasn't as good as it is now. There wasn't much exposure where you could teach yourself this and that. And the people that knew how to do what I wanted to do were not so nice. They were not ready to share what they knew. So it was a trying moment. It was a very, very trying moment for me. But I think the support that I didn't get is what pushed me because I told myself, this has happened. We're not going to stay back and not do anything about it. Yes, we're going to mourn this loved one, but I have these ones, the little ones that are looking up to me because at that point, I'm the only person that they have. So I have these little people that are looking up to me. So what am I going to do? I'm not going to sit in this corner as this widow and just mourn until the heavens come down. We need to get up and try.
And you see, I'm looking at you right now. I introduced you as a young woman. And you're talking of your husband passing 10 years ago. And I am thinking you were really young at the time
I
of his
married young.
passing.
I got married, I think, at age 22. He passed when I was 23. Yeah, if I remember well.
And
So,
at that time, you had to get up and be on your feet,
yes,
be empowered,
yes.
and strive to be equal in this land. You know,
Life is not fair, especially when you don't have the money. So, I told you, growing up, I said I wanted to be rich. That was
Yeah.
my career.
Yeah.
So, strategy may have changed, but the goal was still to get. I'm still going there. Like,
To be
I'm not
rich.
yet there,
Not
but
yet there,
we're
not yet
heading
there.
there. Where we're getting closer.
You know, this year's theme, this year's Women's Day is being celebrated under the theme All Girls and Women's Rights, Equality and Empowerment. And I kept thinking, at the time, you're seeking to be empowered by these fellow bakers who are already exposed and elite. And you're also looking at being equal to the task in the confectionery field.
Exactly.
Did those challenges at any point make you want to quit?
A lot of times. A lot of times, because you know how you want to do this, but you can't quite get it. And you can't ask anybody because no one is willing to help. So there were times when you just say, you know what, maybe I should just go back to look for a job. I think it's easier to just go somewhere, work, knock off and go home and just wait for your pay at the end of the month. But then when I remember how stressful it was working for someone, reporting to someone, and then looking at my little ones and thinking, yo, and at that time I had a baby. Looking at a little one and thinking to myself, this is not going to work. A job? Maybe when this little one grows a little. But between now and then, we need to just figure out a way. And you know how it is in those days when you lose a husband, families would just misbehave. They want to get everything and whatever. So that was the case with me anyway. They got what they wanted to get.
So you actually had to go, you actually went through the whole property grabbing that was rife at that time.
So
And
they
the
got
children were left
what
with
they
nothing.
up to this point, if you ask me to say, so what did you get from my husband was very well to do. I do not know. Like, I do not know. Up to this point, whenever you'd seek audience from family, can we sit down and discuss this and discuss that? No one is interested. So I think we all just
Moved
moved on. Yes.
Wow.
So it was me against me. I had to make things work. I had to
Still be a mother while
still be a
grieving.
mother.
Still be a provider.
And
Still be this nurturer.
unfortunately, honey, in our society, when you're a widow, they kind of just don't expect you to do anything. You should just sit there and mourn your husband and just mourn your husband and just mourn your husband, but they will not provide for you at any one point in time. So the moment they see you get up and go out there, they'll have so many things to say. Pitana, she's doing what? She's doing what? Okay. But I think I've always been thick-headed. I'm stubborn, like my father. Yes. So I really just did mind. I knew what I wanted. Like I knew. I kept my eyes on the goal. Reach, 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 reach. And I told myself, between me and my God, my children and I will never, ever suffer in this life. Not now, not in the next coming years, not when I'm not here. So I told myself that is only going to happen if we do the work. I would like to think of myself as being born naturally wise. I don't know, maybe because I got exposed at a young age. So I get to reason
At a
quite
different
well.
level.
Yes. I look at things differently. It's my family thinks I'm just very, very stubborn because I don't like to listen to certain things, especially if they don't make sense.
If there are things that are suppressing what you
Yeah,
want to do
exactly.
at that time. So would you say as a young woman, all the opposition was fuel for you to make it happen?
Exactly. So whatever I did not get at that point, whatever I needed at that point, I didn't get. I told myself, I'm going to be back and I'll get exactly what they said I couldn't have. And I have done just that.
10 years later, you have a confectionery shop physically in Ndola, and you are virtually present across Zambia. You fly everywhere to deliver cakes.
Yes.
How long did it take you to get to a place where you can comfortably take orders, like big orders from across the country?
Um, it took me over 5 years to just build myself from where I was to where I could comfortably take orders to say, okay, I know I can deliver this to this and this place. It took me over 5 years. And I think I'm not yet at that place where I would want to be. So we're still going. For somebody who's looking out there, they can think, oh, yeah, she's so established, she's doing well for herself. But I have a bigger vision for the brand. I want it to be a household name in every other city, not just in Dola, not just in Wansha. I want it to be a household brand in Lusaka, in Solwezi, in Siavonga. I want, when you think cake, think Sabango's cakes and all. Like, that should be the household brand. So we're doing well where we are now, thank God, but we want to be better. Mm-hmm.
So, looking at how you have journeyed through life, pushing yourself, did you at any point receive any mentorship, any help from those that, were around you, or did you go seeking, leadership in any way so that you could build this business?
Unfortunately, no. And truthfully speaking, I did not even know that mentorship existed until I got myself involved with a few groups here and there. Then I started learning that there are people that would come to me and say, would you be my mentor? I want to get into the baking industry and whatnot. So it's like, this happens? Because I tried to reach out to other bakers just to get knowledge of what they know about this and that. And had I gotten the help that I needed then, I think I would be at a much higher place at this point in time. But I came to understand that people want to see you do good, but not better than them.
That's true. That is very true.
And I think that's the greatest fear that we have as, I don't know if it's Africans or Zambians. We fear that if I help this person get to the next level, they'll probably surpass me.
And they won't remember me.
And they won't remember me. But we have this, I don't know if it's a spirit of entitlement where we want to be thanked
All
for
the
the
time.
rest of their lives because you helped me cross this path to this path. But one thing I'll tell you is when I started getting my name out there, all those people that thought, oh no, we can't help her. Trust me, they came around. They came around.
Exactly.
Because then you want to be associated
With what is trending or with what everybody loves at the moment.
Exactly. And Sabango's Cakes and I was making the noise, attending the youth indabas, we're mingling with the presidents, the ministers and whatnot. So that gives you the spotlight. So now the who of who in the industry want to get associated with you because, well, she's moving.
Of course. But then this question now comes in to say, you made a statement to say, people want to see you do good, but not better than them. How do you protect what you have grown and nurtured as a young woman so that it cannot be corrupted or sabotaged while still helping those that may need your help so that you don't block, you utter them what you did not get?
Yeah. So for me, because I did not get the help that I needed when I needed it, I make sure to help others. The thing about knowledge is the more you share it, the more you learn. The more you speak about something, when you listen to yourself speak or teach somebody something, you're actually bettering yourself. So for me, I like to help others. And I know that's not going to affect my business in any way because, Lombe, even if I bring you the flour, the mixer, the what here, I give it to you. Same ingredients that I have on my table, you still will not be able to do what I would do with mine. Even if we mix the same thing, every one of us has a touch to our things. We can have the same tutor, we can have the same what and what not. You'll still not be able to do what I can do. Yes, for me, that's what I believe.
the individuality complex, because you know you're
Exactly.
an individual first.
Exactly. Even twins don't get to do things the same. In
Yeah.
as much as they are identical, they can never do things the same way. One will always do something better than the other, and the other will also be better in another thing. So for me, that's what I believe. If I teach you something, I'm actually becoming better at it.
With everything that you have been through, from a young girl who watches her parents separate, that shouldn't have been easy for you.
It
To
was
feel safe in such an environment, because we girls are raised to feel safer when we have our mothers around.
I think I had a very supportive father. And my mom was very present. In as much as we were not living with her, she was very present in our lives. At least she tried to be as much as she could be. So for me, it was a very safe environment for me because I got all the help that I needed. If I needed something like girly stuff, my mom would come in a snap like
She was
that.
there.
Yes. My dad had his sisters around, though one of them was a crazy one, but yeah, God rest her soul.
We should get into the craziness and see. Did
I
you tap from
know,
there?
right? No, she was crazy in a bad way.
Oh wow.
Yeah, she was crazy in a bad way, but well, rest easy, young lady.
Oh, she's no longer with us.
No, and yeah. Anyway,
Okay, Sabango seems to be speaking in codes right now. But I mean, I'm looking at you moving from that young girl who is, coming from a broken home, but with what you've said, not so broken because the support system is still enough to be strong. And you get it to be a young woman who goes through widowhood at a young age, has children that she's raising, and you are now in a place where you are equal to the task in society. You are empowered and you're still empowering yourself. What environment are you creating for your girls, for your children, to be able to celebrate women and to be able to value women in a way that doesn't make them first look down on themselves, for the girls, and for the young men to know that when they protect and love a woman, they are doing for society what millions of generations would benefit from?
yeah.
How are you doing that?
So for my son, he would always tell me stuff like, "But mom, you're tired. You need to go and rest. You know how you work so much." So I would always tell him, "You see how you feel about me when I'm tired. You see how you want me to sit down and rest. Would you want another person's mom to be this tired? No." So I tell him, when you see a woman or a girl, think of them as my sister. Think of that one as your mother. So even how you treat them, think of them as us. Look at your sisters, look at me. So when you look at a woman, treat them as such. The respect that you would give me as your mother, the respect and care that you would give your sisters, that's how you should do for every other woman out there. So I make sure I put that in his mind because I mean, we've dealt with men and it's a sorry sight.
Yeah. And that's why I actually asked you this question, because every time we're raising men, people tell us as women to say, you're raising somebody's husband,
Exactly.
somebody's father.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I have taken that in mind. I always tell him, my baby, you may be a son in this house, but one day you're going to be somebody's daddy. So you need to be responsible. And to your wife, you need to be her protector. The same way that you don't want anything to happen to me is the same way that you should not want anything to happen to your wife. So you need to be present. You need to be there. You need to take care of. And while we have these conversations, many times he would laugh. My son likes to laugh at a lot
I've
of
actually
things that
met him,
say.
and the few times I've met him, he's very reserved, very
Yeah.
respectful as well. And
In
it's beautiful
public,
to
very
hear.
reserved.
Yeah.
When
It's
we're
good to
alone,
hear that you are imparting this knowledge. And for the girls,
for the
how are
girls,
they taking it?
like my daughter Genesis. Genesis is one person who is very outspoken. She's very much out there. She didn't grow up like that as a little one. She was very reserved, but now I've seen that she's coming out of her shell, and I think this is all to say. From what I tell her, she would come back from school to come and cry because somebody told her she was very black. She is dark skinned. She was black. Somebody would tell her you have rabbit teeth or somebody. So I always tell her what people say about you is not a reflection of you. It's a reflection of them. It's got nothing to do with you whatsoever. So now she'll go to school and somebody will say something bad about her, and then she'll just tell them, it's not me, you're telling, you're probably telling yourself.
Wow.
Yes.
That's some
And she'll
confidence
come back home
thing
and
is
tell you,
good.
Mom, that girl, she came to Germany. This I just know that you're telling yourself. So, like I always tell her, you know you. Whatever she say to you, are you that person? She would say no. Are you what? She would say no. So why are you bothered? Why are you crying about things that you're not? Then she'll be like, okay. And I think I've gotten the message across. So she's not bothered by a lot of things. She's not. She can dress how she wants. She can just look how she wants, and she'll be very confident in her speaking. By the way, she's a very good speller. So she'll be up there on stage and she'll be speaking, spelling her words, and she would just be there. Like, she's just got the hang of it. She's built the confidence. I think this is something that a lot of our mothers did not teach us, because as girls, of course, they were telling us to just kind of be reserved. They're teaching you to be a good wife to somebody someday, but they were not doing things for us.
That would be beneficial for us.
Exactly.
And I ask this question because with everything you've been through, it's very easy to pass on negativity. It's very easy to pass on bitterness.
Yeah.
It's very easy to pass on everything you experienced to innocent children,
Yes.
without realizing you're doing it.
Very true. Very true.
Wow. This interview is getting so interesting, but unfortunately, we have to wind up. Sabango, to that person watching you right now, to that mother, that young girl, that young entrepreneur, or that established entrepreneur, that, child with dreams watching you, we are celebrating Women's Day. What would be your message to them?
Well, from me to you, do what you want and do it wholeheartedly. Do it with all of your might and you will definitely get it. You can be anything you want in this life. Anything. You don't have to be male, female, whatever. If you put your mind to something, you will do it. I am a living example. I lost what I thought I had, but look at me now. I've built something even better. So whatever you want to achieve in life, do it. Get up every morning, even when it hurts. The point is, don't stop moving. Even with a broken leg, my friend, move, crawl, something, but just don't stop moving and get to that point where you want to get. Otherwise, I wish you the best, best of luck, and see you at the top.
Wow. See you at the top, Sabi, as I will be interviewing the Vice President of the United Nations.
By all means, please, I will meet you there because we'll be sharing tables.
Of course, you'll be giving us your best confectionaries right there, ready to,
Of
at the
course.
high table.
Yes, girl.
International platforms.
International baker. Oh, we're already international
Of
because
course.
we're sending cakes out already.
Exactly. See
Yes.
that?
Yes.
Wow.
So, going higher and higher.
It doesn't stop here. Well, thank you so much for joining us for this special broadcast. My name is Lombe Chiti, and from Sabango and I, we are wishing you
A happy Women's Day.